Hello, everyone. We are so excited to have you here today. My name is Ariana Gonzalez. I am a senior here at the University of Kentucky, and I'm majoring in integrated strategic communications. Again, we're so excited to have you. Today, we'll be talking with Corrine Williams. She is the Acting Associate Vice President for Student Well-Being here at the University of Kentucky. And so, Corrine, it's so great to have you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. So we're just going to go ahead and jump on in. First of all, can you just tell us, what is your role here at UK?
Yeah, so in addition to being faculty in the College of Public Health, I am the Acting Associate Vice President for Student Wellbeing. And what this means is in this role, I manage 5 units: the Counseling Center, the Disability Resource Center, the Violence Intervention and Prevention Center, Financial Wellness, and Campus Recreation and Wellness. I almost always forget one. Apologies to those who report to me. And these are all units that are really focused on student well-being, different aspects of student well-being, as you can tell sort of from the names.
Yeah.
And so it's, yeah.
That's awesome. And what has been your favorite part of just your role here on campus?
So I've been in this role for 3 months, and I think the part that I love most is knowing that we are really doing our best to make a difference for students and really trying to help students live their best lives. We know the academics are so important, but you also need to be healthy to be able to be your best academic self. And so I think for me, just getting to work with a bunch of people who are so committed to students, I've never met a group that's more committed to students.
That is so good. That is so sweet. Oh man. And in what ways has your background before coming here and being in your role helped you?
Yeah. So I am in the Department of Health, Behavior, and Society in the College of Public Health, and really my work has focused a lot on program evaluation. I actually was one of the first people working on the evaluation team for Green Dot, the bystander intervention that we use here.
Okay.
And I think by working on some of these programs, it's really helped me to understand how we can improve different services for students to really, make them more accessible, and then make them engaging so students want to participate so that they can learn what we want them to learn about health and well-being.
Yeah, and how has your role to help influence like your relationships with students during this time, or even staff and faculty that you work with?
So I will say I'm still in the classroom. I'm actually actively teaching 2 classes right now.
Okay.
And I really love being able to ask students questions about their experiences with services, how they experience things. And I honestly have had to refer students to different services, be that the Counseling Center, be that the Violence Intervention and Prevention Center, when students have disclosed challenges to me. And I think one of my goals is that every member of this community, the UK community, will know what resources UK offers to students and then be able to help anyone who comes in their path and say, wait, you're having a problem with this, here's someone who can help you. And I think just as we are able to talk more across the campus, that would be helpful for improving student well-being.
Yeah, and I know that is super helpful for me being a student too. If I ever get into those situations where I want or need to, refer a student or a friend, to these different resources. So
I talk to students a lot, and I say, you might not need this information right now, but you might need it in the future, or a friend might need it. And I want us to all be prepared to help. I mean, I think one of the things I love about UK students is how much they care about the people around them. And, you would want to have that information to care for your friend. And if, a friend came and said, hey, I'm really struggling and I'm stressed and I don't know what to do, to be able to say, hey, there's this resource, academic coaching, or we have wellness coaches who can talk to you about nutrition, and be able to provide that information to them.
Yeah, that is most helpful for sure, and definitely a part of just this care culture that the University of Kentucky has. I've experienced it, and just hearing it too from you, from your perspective on the other side of things, providing these resources, it's really great to know.
Yeah.
So thank you. This year, we've heard a lot about health and safety. Can you talk about how your work fits into those commitments to keep students healthy and safe?
Yeah, and one of the things that's so interesting to me about what we've gone through over the past year is it makes me realize just how much UK was doing for students before, because a lot of what we've done is just really continuing the services, particularly in my area with student well-being. We've had the Counseling Center on this campus forever, and a lot of students right now are struggling with depression, anxiety. There's a lot of unknowns with COVID that I think are making people particularly maybe feel a little unsafe where they just don't know. And knowing that we have the resources here that can help students have someone to talk to, I think is really important. We really do have this culture of safety and thinking about how do we keep students safe and healthy in all sorts of ways. And when I talk about health, I really do want to say I think about that as a holistic, not just that you're not sick, but are you truly living, able to live your best life? Are you eating well? Are you sleeping well? Are you managing your stress? Because we know college is stressful, and we know students sometimes need help developing those skills, particularly students coming out of high school where maybe they excelled. College is a different level, and I think sometimes students struggle with that transition. And so just knowing that we have these offices like the Counseling Center, Campus Recreation and Wellness has some amazing wellness coaches that can really help at any point in time.
Yeah, Corrine, that's so helpful. And I know for myself too, I'm in my 5th year, I'm a senior, and I am not the same person I was coming out of high school, fresh into college. And personally, I've used a couple of those resources that you've mentioned, and it has been so transformative to what you were talking about, that holistic health and well-being.
One of the things that I really hope for all of our students is that we can think of not just this culture of safety, but really what I think of as a culture of help seeking, recognizing that asking for help and seeking help is not a weakness. That sometimes you need help as you're going through this. There's a lot of developmental changes that happen from over this course, from going from 18 to 22 or 23. And you sometimes need help with figuring out exactly what's happening and who you are. And that's okay. And I really want our students to not see, I've heard that from students where they're afraid of being labeled. And I want them to know, no, we're here to help you. And we just want you to be your best possible self. And that's what we're trying to help you achieve.
Well, thank you. That is so encouraging hearing it as a student. And it is definitely a lifelong journey too. Like, I love that you guys are, again, providing these resources for us so that we can be most successful, not just in our time here in college, but again, lifelong journey. So
well, and this is where you are, not necessarily living with your parents, you might be, but you're starting to have this independence and you're having to make choices for yourself. Thinking about, setting your own bedtime, setting your own schedule, those things all play into health and are so important. And so helping you to get off on a good trajectory, I think is important.
Yeah, well, thank you. And how has COVID, I know we've talked about this, but if you're able to expand, how has COVID impacted the way that UK approaches health and wellness for students in other ways that you may have not just described right now?
So one thing that I think is really important that we've talked a lot about in the past couple of months is we were forced to move things virtually for obvious reasons, right? To keep people safe. And what we've learned is that in some cases that virtual element really helps students to access our resources a little bit more easily. And so going forward, honestly, we'll probably always keep a Zoom therapy option as part of the counseling center. Going forward, we've heard that the virtual fitness classes that Campus Recreation is doing are really popular, particularly with our off-campus students, because they get an opportunity for physical activity, but they don't have to account for travel time back to campus. And so thinking about how we can keep some of these things and really take some of the lessons we've learned during this pandemic and work to improve our services to make them more accessible and open for all students.
Yeah, and I didn't even know about these things. I'm like, wow, maybe I should try that. And I know personally I can come up with many excuses and barriers that keep me from doing these things, like time, like you just shared. So that is so good that you guys are looking at these little things to help us even be more successful in trying to use them, you know, the things that you're providing for students.
And we know that, taking, and as hard as it is to tell students, take a break from the studying, right? Doing a 30 minutes of physical activity, doing some stretches, yoga, can really help to improve your ability to study. Taking those breaks is important. So we want those opportunities to be accessible and not feel like there's a barrier between you and what we know could be helpful.
Yeah, and Corrine, so, we're going into this very stressful time right now with finals, graduating. I'm so excited, but there's also just fears and stress that comes into this time. And so what are some things that, how is UK helping students through some of these challenges?
Yeah, it is definitely a stressful time. I mentioned that I'm in the classroom, and I actually spent last night, I do these evening office hours, and I spent last night talking to 5 different students who are all in that, they know they have to do X, Y, and Z to graduate. Can we get there? Which is just, it's such a fun time, but there's a lot of anxiety that comes up. So we're doing a lot of what we have always been doing and just making those services a little bit more available. So the counseling center is still offering sessions. If students particularly are struggling and need a crisis appointment, they can walk in and call at any point. We have a unit in, it's not under me, it's in a different unit, but academic coaching through transformative learning is offering some opportunities, and they'll talk to students about how to study, improve some of those study skills, work on time management, those types of things. And they're still offering appointments now. And I would encourage students to reach out if they're interested, at least to do a consultation and say, is there something that we can help? There will be various activities to also help students take a little bit of a break, and I think that's important. As much as we want you studying all the time, you can't study 24/7. You're gonna not get the same.
Are you sure? Are you sure we can't do that?
I'm absolutely positive. I always tell my students there's sort of diminishing returns if you push too hard, and I'm sure you've experienced this as a student where you've tried to stay up all night studying for a final or working on a paper, and your progress just gets slower and slower.
Yes.
And it's because your brain can't keep up. And really, if you took a 30-minute break, took a quick nap, went for a walk around the block, and then came back, you'd be so much more productive. And so I really encourage students to try to take some breaks.
Yeah, that is very helpful and true.
I know it's really hard in the moment. I've been there, but you got to take those breaks occasionally.
Corrine, what advice do you have for parents who are perhaps concerned about their students' wellness during this difficult time?
Yeah. So one thing is parents know their students best, right? Because if I were to ask you, are you okay? You would say, oh yeah, I'm fine. And your mom would probably recognize in your voice she's saying she's fine, but she's not, right? And so I want to encourage parents to check in with their students and see how they're doing. I would ask parents to be mindful of not putting too much pressure on their students. There's a balancing act there, right? Of we want the best out of our students, but we have to make sure we're not pushing too hard, that we're sacrificing their health and their well-being. I will say for parents, and this is true for any member of the UK community, we have a form. It's through the Center for Support and Intervention. If you have serious concerns about a student's well-being, where you're really concerned, you think there might be a challenge, there's a form on their website that you can submit a concern to. But really, I would encourage parents to check in with their student, encourage healthy activities, make sure they're sleeping well, encourage healthy snacks. And just try to be encouraging at this time. There's enough pressure that students put on themselves. I really think just trying to encourage and be supportive is important.
Yeah, that's so good. I mean, I've been so blessed with my parents who check in with me constantly. But there are times, mom and dad, I know that they love me and they care for me, but it can be a little extra pressure on top of all the different factors. But it is important that we are talking about ways that we can also, as a community, help parents of our students, because they play a vital role in our health, well-being, and success as well. And ultimately, I think every parent wants to see their child successful going through college. So, yeah.
And
And so, Corrine, what advice now do you have for students in terms of proactively taking care of their health and well-being?
So I've said it a few times, but sleep is so important. And I think it's the thing that students let go of first, that they plan on staying up all night. And really that regular sleep is important. Your brain just functions so much better when you're sleeping. Also, we are currently having some beautiful weather, and I'm a fan of just taking 10 minutes outside. There's something about getting to a different location, and truly, taking a walk around your residence hall, taking a walk down the street. There's something about getting outside in the sunshine that can really, I think, improve people's well-being pretty significantly with just a very a small little action. That physical activity is important, getting out and moving, stretching. I encourage people, and I do this myself when I'm working on a big project. There's this I've seen students do it right. I must sit here for 3 hours and I'm not going to stand up until I do. Actually, about every 30 minutes, you really should stand up and just move around a little bit. Make sure you're drinking water. And some of those things can really just help to make sure you're staying healthy as you get through this next few weeks, this next 6 weeks until graduation. Commencement is going to be, I know it's busy and stressful, but it can, you don't have to be unhealthy during it.
Yeah, it is. Well, these are such great resources and tips that you've shared with all of us, but even including myself. I mean, I think I'm definitely going to have to try some of them. Yeah. I know for me, my go-to is going outside and going for walks. That's how I refresh. Yep. And so, and this weather is perfect. So
yep.
it's so great.
I will say those short, people think they have to do these big, I have to exercise for an hour. We know that those little 10-minute walks here and there really add up and can improve your physical health.
Yeah. Well, Corrine, is there anything else that you would like to share or encourage students or parents? Anything else you'd like to add? This has been such a great time. So,
no, I would say we have a lot of resources. We'll have there's a website, wellkentucky.uky.edu that I would encourage students to look at. We have all sorts of mental health resources and really just the different offices that can help support student well-being are listed there. And take advantage of it. We're here to support our students, and I want to make sure students know that we really are here to help and just help you in whatever ways we can.
That was so great. Well, Corrine, thank you so much for your time today. It was so great getting to know you more and just your role here. And hopefully I'll be running into you a lot more on campus.
No, I'm excited. Good luck with the next few weeks and happy commencement. That's
Thank
exciting.
you. Thank you so much. And to all who joined us today, thank you so much. We hope you enjoyed the rest of your week. And again, we just appreciate your time.